without a permit? Is that our hockey down?
Yes, I had to do.
I'm just kidding.
We said, Brian.
It's rolling?
Yes.
Okay. Call this meeting to order. The Personnel Committee, April 29th, 2025 at 5:26 p.m. Roll call, Alder Grant.
Present.
Alder Hinkfist.
Present.
Alder Galvin. Alder Galvin.
Excused.
He's excused. Alder Johnson is present.
Got jokes.
Very first meeting. Let's welcome Director Rolifson. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, perfect. Thank
I'm going to go off script here a little bit. Maybe I'm breaking state law. I don't know. If you
I doubt it.
if you want to just quickly introduce yourself.
you. Sure. So Brian Rolifson, HR Director here at the City of Green Bay. Week number 4. So very excited to be part of an awesome team. And I got to see them all in action last weekend. I was at our DPW department this morning, giving out massive kudos for an excellent job, well done by a great group of folks. I come to the city from the Community Blood Center, nonprofit in Appleton, Wisconsin, where I was the Vice President of HR for the last couple of years. Prior to that, Oshkosh Defense, where I led labor relations for the organization for about 8 years. Prior to that, I was active duty Air Force for 21 years. So excited to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to introduce myself.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And thank you to Melanie for filling in. So we found the permanent hire. So
Are you trying to sit so you're moving out the door?
I may try to slide him out the door, actually.
Okay, all right. I like that attitude.
all right. So we will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to amend the agenda?
Just do a motion to approve right now. We'll get a motion
Okay,
on the
sorry,
floor.
motion to approve?
So approved.
Okay. So we have a motion by Grant, a second by Hinkfist. And is there an amendment?
Yes, motion to move item 4 in front of item 1.
Okay. We have a motion by Grant to amend the agenda to move item 4 to item 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hinkfist. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt as amended?
Motion to adopt as agenda? As
Second.
amended?
As agended?
Amended.
We have a motion by Grant, a
I feel
second by
like he's calling
Hinkfist.
a
Any
football
discussion?
game or something.
Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item E, regular business, number 4, for consideration possible action on the request to
Do we have to approve the
reclassify.
minutes?
What's that?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Didn't we do that?
You did the agenda. Motion to approve the minutes.
Sorry, I thought you called them the
So moved.
minutes. We have a motion by Alder Grant, a second by Hinkfist to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 4, for consideration of possible action on the request to reclassify 13 Conservation Corps federally grant-funded positions to 13 limited-term employees, LTEs, due to the loss of the federal grant funding. Director DeChite and program manager, coordinator Otto.
Program Director, Evan Ochoa.
Team play.
All right, sorry about the last minute change to the agenda packet here, and I just passed out the attachments for the agenda, which I just prepared today. I'll be sure to include these in the council agenda, so the full city council can see the attachments. But, you know, real quickly, so not good news. So yesterday we received notice that the funding for our Conservation Corps and Community Corps program was pulled, and we were told to cease and assist with continuing with the program as it relates to the funding from the grant. So from here, I'll kind of pass it on to Maria to maybe give a little bit more information, then we'll talk about the budget after that.
Yeah, so the Department of Government Efficiency got to AmeriCorps, the federal agency, on April 8th. From there, they dismantled the NCCC program, which is a national direct funded program, at which time it did not affect our program grant. We received notice. The notice came to the state of Wisconsin late Friday, and then we are a sub-grantee from the state of Wisconsin, and so we received notice Monday morning that our grant was being suspended, and we needed to cease any activities for grant spending purposes effective immediately. So yesterday afternoon we had to send home our 13 AmeriCorps members. effective immediately is to not incur any additional costs. Any future work that the Conservation Corps would do would come fully funded through the city then. So we are not effective April 25th. We do not receive any reimbursement expenses, so any expenses incurred. So what we're coming here today is we looked at what we currently have in our budget and are proposing to transition the 13 AmeriCorps member positions into 13 seasonal city positions for a 1-month period. That is what our funding and what our current budget would accommodate without having impact to the budget. That would also include keeping on the 3 staff personnel, so myself, our field supervisor, and then the community corps assistant, which was brought on back in February to plan the community corps program, and keep those staff members on for 2.5 to 3 months is what the budget would allow for that. At the end of the day, with those proposals, with the 13 and the 3 staff, it would have an overall impact on the budget of $284, in which that would be absorbed into the general park and rec budget. So
and I have included kind of a budget summary. Let me just kind of review this with you so that everyone's clear what all these different categories mean. So the first box is what was actually included in our 2025 budget. So this is what we said we would receive in grant funding. We did also have like a volunteer grant that we anticipated as part of our budget cycle, so we did have that in our 2025 budget for $15,000. In addition, we had cash donations built into our budget because we anticipated that coming of $5,525. And then the city allocated $120,891 of city budget money. So that's how much the city put into this. So if we start kind of looking at what we've spent to date, that's where the next 3 categories come in. So we haven't received all the revenues, obviously, because the grants are reimbursement grants, so we have to spend the money down first, and then we ask for reimbursement. So right now, in our revenues to date, I put in the full $120,891, which was the city's allocation for the entire calendar year. I did include the cash donations because we did receive the cash donations. The volunteer grant, we did go through our volunteer event, and we're only able to claim $7,492 out of the $15,000 that was originally allocated, and that is pending. So we'll submit for reimbursement that we should get that. It has nothing to do with the federal funding that was eliminated. And then we have already to date for this calendar year received $92,422 in Conservation Corps federal grant money. We also have several pending grants that have already been tentatively approved, but we just haven't received the check yet. I know we're anticipating to get that $36,000 in revenue from the federal grant. Because it was already approved before the funding was eliminated. So we're hopeful we'll get that. We're fairly confident we'll get that, but I can't guarantee that at this point for the $36,000.
it was approved this morning.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So it's just going through the state's system.
There you go. So that's an update I didn't have until now. Then the next one shows, so total we have $262,722 in revenues. Expenses, so to date, as of last Friday, we've incurred $192,262. That's what we spent in expenses. The next 2 line items is what we're proposing to do to kind of close things out here. So what we'd like to do, like Maria mentioned, was take our 13 community corps members that we had to let go last week, or yesterday, I apologize, and convert them into city employees. So they'd be similar to our seasonal maintenance workers. The pay for them would be similar to our park maintenance workers. They do similar type work. We would propose to pay them the same hourly rate. Right now they get a living stipend, but you know that's funded through AmeriCorps. Now that the grant goes away and it's all city funded, we want to pay them comparable to what or what we feel is a comparable job, which is a park maintenance worker. So if we were to hire all 13 back for a 1-month period, that would come out to $25,879. Now, we don't know if all 13 members want to come back and work the month. That's just what the budget would allow if all 13 members do come on. It might be less if you have a couple of members that decide not to work with us for the last month. The advantage to bringing them on is we have several projects that are already in the works, and Maria can probably say more than I can, but we have probably $60,000 worth of prairie plants sitting in a couple of greenhouses waiting to be planted. If we don't have crews to plant those prairies, we have to probably donate them to somebody else in the community who could use them, because we wouldn't have the staff to do it. So that's a significant investment. So that's one of the priority projects that we would use these employees for, is to get those plants in the ground. I don't know if you have anything to add. I mean, there's other priority projects we would do in addition to that, but we're thinking about a month's worth of work with 13 people could get all of that done. The next line item for $44,865, that would be to keep our 3 full-time staff that we have right now for the program, which is Maria and then the 2 supervisors, for approximately 2.5 to 3 months. So ultimately, we would just keep them on staff until the city funding is gone. So we're not proposing to use any additional city money in the budget other than the $284, which we can absorb in our existing account. But we'll keep track of the budgets on a weekly basis. When we get to the point where we're out of city money, that's all that we're asking for right now. But what we're hopeful we can do in the next couple of weeks is maybe put together a proposal of where we go from here, and how do those 3 full-time positions fit into the city structure in either the same capacity or a limited capacity, or maybe some other capacity in the city. I'm not here to talk about what could we propose. I'm here to just talk about, these are the changes we want to do just to close things out and help us transition through this very abrupt ending to the program. And so we're not asking for any additional city dollars, but we also know that we're not going to get any more federal dollars if we choose to do this. My understanding is we do need committee and council approval to create the 13 positions, because that wasn't originally allocated. I don't believe that we need official city approval for us to keep the 3 individuals on staff, as long as we don't exceed the budget. But I'm not sure if you want to build that into your motion or not. If you just want to make it official and build that into your motion to keep them on staff, I'll leave that up to you. The other just change I want to just mention real quickly is in the agenda item, we said that we wanted to list them or create the positions as limited term employees. We would prefer to change that to seasonal employees. So if you do put together a motion, please make sure the motion is for seasonal employees, converting them to seasonal employees and not limited term employees.
And seasonal employees, what's the difference between seasonal and full-time?
It matches our seasonal maintenance and the pay scale, and so it would just be more comparable.
No, I would agree. I just wanted to, because that goes with benefits and everything else. Okay, and then when you asked about the motion, you said you could make, what do you mean you could make what in your motion?
So,
Something about full-time or?
yeah, so, well, if you look at the agenda item is for consideration with possible action to request to reclassify 13 Conservation Corps positions to 13 seasonal employees is what we're asking now, due to the loss of federal grant funding. I will leave it up to you if you also want to include in that motion to keep our 3 full-time staff employed until the budget money runs out. I don't know if that's a necessary motion, but that would be your
I think that's
discretion.
council getting into the business of staff, honestly. That's, we authorize the funding, it's now your discretion to deploy it properly. So that would be my
I would agree with that.
advice, but.
I would agree.
Okay, so Governor Evers said he's going to sue. Josh Call, whoever, I know other states are looking at it, does that freeze the funding, or is that beyond maybe where your knowledge is?
Yeah, currently our grant is technically frozen.
Frozen from coming to us, but if they're
And-
sued at the federal level, does it sort of freeze the administration, right, from halting the program? I get, like, a
determines
reverse
on- it-
freezing.
Yeah, it comes down to what the judge could do that.
You could say that.
So-
the
But it's not
federal-
automatic.
It's not automatic.
Okay.
And if it were to revert back, then we would, pick up, basically.
Right.
So this is kind of pushing a pause and a contingency for that pause time, knowing that it may not come back, but it may. And so this is just, what do we do in the interim?
Yeah, and just, I mean, for the benefit of the other two here, I mean, the argument is that this money's already been appropriated by Congress.
Exactly, yes.
So-
I don't know how we're pulling it back, but.
Yeah, and then the seasonal component, right? When we look at sort of what our commitment is to this program right now, when you, because it was asked if they're seasonal now, it's,
They're technically AmeriCorps members, so it's more similar to being contracted by the city, more so
Does
than
that-
being a city staff person.
right now, the status
Right
quo,
now,
right?
correct, yeah.
And so when you think about benefits and some of those other things, how is that funded right now?
Right now, that's funded through the AmeriCorps grant, and that's only eligible for our year-round full-time to meet those hour requirements for a limited term, and none of our members have opted into that. They're all on their other insurances, so it's for health insurance purposes. So no current member out of the 13 has opted to receive benefits from the AmeriCorps program.
That could change at any time, right?
Potentially, yes.
Well, would this constitute a life-changing event, presumably, right?
Yes.
So, and the reason I'm asking that question, of course, is because if there are individuals that want to take advantage of that because of this reclass, and that's currently not accounted, I'm assuming that's not accounted for in this budget, right?
Well, this would be considered a seasonal employee, and we don't offer those benefits to
Not health
seasonal
insurance.
employees for health
Oh, and
insurance.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that then, so that's why you
That's
wanted to do
what I was
seasonal versus the
asking,
LTE?
Yes, correct.
Okay, I thought you said it was.
Because we're talking a 1-month commitment is all that we can really fund anyway, with the budget that we
Okay.
have.
Am I the only one that misunderstood that? No. Okay.
And that 120,000 that is in our budget, is that portion that we had to put in order for the grant to match, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And is this just this grant for AmeriCorps?
We have two grants. One is for the Conservation Corps and one is for the Community Corps. And both of those were frozen.
I've worked with AmeriCorps, and you guys are awesome.
All
The
all
people that go
Wisconsin.
into AmeriCorps, they don't work for big wages, they get a housing voucher, but they work really hard for the organizations that they're part of. So this is a huge disappointment. Because one thing I'd love to see is what aren't we going to be able to do now? How many years have we been doing this?
This is our third year.
Third year? I mean, I've been here a year, and I think you've been in front of us 3 or 4 times. And all you guys have been extremely impressive. So,
Yeah, it's a program
Wow.
that Maria and I had even been talking about expanding the community core component, right, in other parts of the city, and it's, I think there'll be a time to pontificate on that,
yeah.
right, but it's,
We have the structure planned and created for the community core,
Yeah.
so.
and so again, if, to your point, Dan, not all 13 may want to come back, and so let's say 10 do, part of the reason why I don't want to tinker with what you're doing with already authorized positions, right? Because then that's salary savings from 3 people, and I want to give you the flexibility
Yeah.
to do what you need to do with the staff that's already in our work chart. Yeah, this is, it's kind of a bummer because I know the impact it has on our community. This was a good program. And to me, it's always a matter of leverage, right? I mean, the federal government puts in some, but we also had to match it.
Right, we were matching 50% of it, which was extremely valuable.
I do think there's an opportunity, though, depending on how swiftly or not that lawsuit happens, I do think that there might be an opportunity, and Michael, maybe this can be part of that press conference next week. It's really more of a call to action from the community to see if we can get folks to step up to help fully fund the program until the federal issue's settled.
Right.
And obviously, to me, I'm looking at it saying, hey, can we find a way to raise enough funding essentially to keep what we have in place for the balance of the year? And then let Congress do its thing around the future of the program. But I'm just trying to control where we have influence, right? And because you had enough work, I presume, or a schedule lined up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is the federal government, I mean, did the granting period align with our fiscal period?
No, so what would have been our current grant would have taken us through the end of August, and then September 1st is our new grant year for AmeriCorps. So we submitted our grant application for the creation of the community corps and the next funding cycle back in October of 2024 for a September 2025 tentative start date.
But none of those folks have been hired yet, right?
Correct, no.
So really though, when I think about interim funding, if you will, and it would be nice if we could drill down this number prior to that press conference to be able to say, hey, if we raise X amount of dollars, like this could continue to fully fund the program through the end of August when we had initially intended.
Yeah, and we have that tentative number ready as well.
Okay, because I do think being prepared for that press conference and actually launching
Yep.
some type of online crowdfunding
Yep.
type of campaign could probably go over fairly well, better than we
And,
think.
and they're also looking at the state level as well, as how can the state cover, because all Wisconsin AmeriCorps programs received this notice. And so the state is our pass-through, and so the state is looking at what can they supplement with knowing that they would not, or potentially would not get reimbursed from the federal government. So there are definitely potentials, right? And this is just, what can we do in the interim to not lose all the work that we've
Right.
put in?
That's what, see, even if the state steps in, great, right? But if you can get, I'm making a number up, 25,000, right, of crowdfunding to go in,
Yeah.
it just takes us even further.
Yep.
If the state does step up, right?
Especially since we've done community activities. I mean, I know my district alone with Red Smith, we had a good amount of volunteers show up both times that we did that. So I think people having that experience and seeing the results already and talking about what is to come forward will show a lot of value. And I think that because you guys have been around for 3 years, that impact has been seen.
Yep.
So I think that's helpful.
Yeah, so that'd be just one suggestion, right? If we can pull together some of those most impactful stories.
We do already have members that are prepared with testimonies, and community organizations and partners ready for testimonies for next Tuesday.
And I would say get that
Right.
out even to the neighborhood associations and share.
So we're basically saying,
So we're, yeah,
of the
motion.
370, 250 plus almost 60, so $300,000 the federal government reneged on the grant for this year. Am I looking at that right? 370 plus 63 minus the cost of
Yeah, minus our current reimbursements.
92 and 36, so
Yep.
it's $250,000 just on one grant.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Where's the media?
I think for the purpose of today, just so that we can get Dan out of here, first off, guys, I'm sorry this is happening. It's, please know that this is not a reflection of your value and what you're doing for our community. And I think, as Kathy said, what you guys are doing is awesome. And I think our hope is to find a way, like, we're problem solvers, so I think our hope is to find a way to continue to keep you working for the city if you want to. And I think we need to take advantage of the microphone in a really positive way. Maria, I'm happy to work with you outside of this.
Yeah.
If you've never run crowdfunding campaigns, there's a strategy, and I'm happy to connect with you on that. But I think what we have in front of us is pretty, like,
Easy.
just, right?
That's a
doesn't affect
no-brainer,
anything.
yes.
So I would entertain a motion to do that.
Okay, motion, then I motion to approve, to reclassify 13 AmeriCorps federal funded positions to 13 seasonal employees due to the loss of federal grant funding.
And retain the 3.
Let's keep that.
We don't
keep
need
that
to
out.
keep.
Second.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
right,
so I have a
you said
motion
we were
by
gonna do that.
Grant and a second by Hinkfist. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So,
Thank you.
thank you all. We're going to keep fighting.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay, then we're going to move on to item 1 for consideration of possible action on the request to fill the following positions and all subsequent vacancies resulting from internal transfers. 1A, Police Commander.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? Do we need it?
Do you need any, Chief?
First.
I mean, do you really need that position?
Yes.
That's why we moved to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hinkfist,
Second.
second by Grant. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 2 for consideration of possible action on the request to reclassify an Arborist 1 position to Arborist 2.
Motion to approve.
Why do we need, then what, do we need both those positions?
I can answer if you want. So, in our table of organization, we have Arborist 1 positions and we have Arborist 2 positions.
Right.
What we're proposing to do is to take one of those and convert it to an Arborist 2. So to take an Arborist 1 and make it an Arborist 2. Arborist 2 are more experienced arborists.
And you need our approval for that?
Yes, because it's
Okay.
changing the table of organization. And so there's actually going to be a cost savings in this change simply because somebody is, I believe, retired. And when they're at a higher step than hiring somebody new at the first step of level 2. So,
Okay. Makes sense.
So that's $1,650 that can go towards the AmeriCorps program, right?
So there we go. All
You guys already kickstarted this.
right, what, didn't you make a motion?
I motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Grant, second by Hinkfist. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 3 for consideration of possible action to approve the 25 to 2027 labor agreement between City of Green Bay and Amalgamated Transit Union, Local Division 857 bus operators. Do we need closed session? Okay, so any questions on the agreement? Or
Bus-
we can go
bus
into
drivers are
session
happy?
if you prefer to do that.
Bus drivers are happy, that's what we need.
Once this is approved, yes,
Okay. Staff's in alignment, unions in alignment?
absolutely.
Okay. Again, closed session's an option if you want it. If you've got questions you want to ask of staff privately.
Nope.
Okay. We'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Grant and a second by Hinkfist. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. F1, report of routine personnel actions. Any questions? F2, the next meeting is May 13th, 2025. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Hinkfist, second by Grant. Any discussion? Actually, it's non-debatable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.